Hello and welcome to sixth episode of Unproduced. I named this episode What Podcasting Keeps Teaching Me. The core idea behind this episode is about that when I started Produced By, one of the things that I expected was to learn more about businesses. Well, not at the start, because I initially started focusing more on creative industries, but over time, obviously, since I've been speaking with freelancers, entrepreneurs, people from all kinds of businesses, understandably, I expected to learn more about business. Instead, I've learned far more about people. And after more than 170 conversations with founders, creators, and entrepreneurs, certain patterns keep appearing. Not because everyone is the same. Quite the opposite. Because the more different people I meet, the more I realize how similar many of our struggles actually are. And this episode isn't about the guests, it's about what those conversations have quietly taught me. So, when I started Produced By, my primary podcast or my first podcast, I thought I knew what I would learn. It will be business, branding, content, LinkedIn, or entrepreneurship. Okay, maybe not initially when I started, but over time, once I decided on the direction. And considering that majority of people are here probably from LinkedIn or social media, that's what I consider when I say when I started, not first episodes, because it was quite different. Maybe we might dive into it into another episode. And yes, I learned those things that I mentioned, but I didn't expect that podcasting would change how I think about life. Yes, I know. Now it's going to sound quite deep and philosophical. But after hundreds of hours of conversations, I've realized that the biggest lessons rarely come from business advice. Instead, they come from observing people, how they think, what they worry about, what they value, and the patterns that quietly repeat themselves. And today, I want to share a few of those observations. One of the areas or aspects that I like about the podcast is that every guest is different and unique. Sometimes you follow people, sometimes it might be people that you don't really know. Yes, I might have been following them for a while, but it's really always very different. Sometimes I've been following them for quite a while, so it feels like I know them. Sometimes it's been quite recent because there might be people that just catch my eye, catch my attention, and I feel like, oh wow, I really want to speak with this person. And that's one of the scenarios when you may not know anything. So that's just to illustrate what I'm talking about. And also, a good point to mention is that even though that you might be following someone for a long time and feel like that you know them, it's completely different than when you actually speak with them. So you never know. That's one of the things that might scare some people. Yes, might feel a bit like step out of your comfort zone or something unexpected, but at the same time, it's one of the things that I think it's beautiful about podcasting and about doing. So one of the biggest surprises has been this. The people we admire don't have life figured out. For some, it may sound obvious, but for others, I think it is one of the biggest misconceptions. Because oftentimes we think that those people that are way ahead of us, that are on top, they are the best in their field, that have got everything figured out. But it's far from the truth. Because they also still question themselves. They still change direction, they still make mistakes, and they still don't know what's coming next. And yes, I saw it myself too when I spoke with some big names on my podcast. Of course, not celebrities yet, but people that are way ahead of me. They achieved a lot, and that I look up to. And yes, they are just people. They are just people like all of us. And I'm pretty sure that, let's say, celebrities or people that are even bigger names, you know what I mean, that they are in similar situations. Because when we're younger, we assume that successful people eventually become certain. But podcasting has convinced me that certainty isn't the goal. Curiosity probably is. Here are some possible examples: guests changing careers. And you'll be surprised how many times some of the people that I spoke with changed career. Whether it was in their life before LinkedIn, whether it was to change for the LinkedIn or then actually change on the LinkedIn, which I think that always a good reminder is that it's better to change your career even if it might feel that it's late, than keep doing something that you don't enjoy, you don't find fulfilling, and you don't even want to do. Next example, reinventing business. Why would you keep doing, developing, and working a business that, again, you might not enjoy, you might not see the future working in, or might not be profitable? So, again, it's never late. Next one, starting over, which I think is quite a big one. Yes, it's scary. It feels like that you've been building something, working on something, and now you leave it behind. But the same as what I mentioned before. And next one, learning continuously. You know what it is. Learning is a lifelong journey. It never stops. So these are just some of the examples, and I'm pretty sure that you can think of many more as well. And this actually connects directly to last week's episode. Podcasting has shown me that successful people rarely want the same things. Some optimize for freedom, others for impact, some for family, others for creativity, some simply want peace. From the outside, they all look successful, but from the inside, they're solving completely different problems. This made me much slower to compare myself. I've discussed it many times in Unproduced, as well as with my guest on Produced By. It comes down to what are your goals. Again, many people from LinkedIn, what are your goals on LinkedIn? Not the same as the other person's. I may want to increase visibility of my show. You might want to find clients. Another person might just want to network. You never know. Plus, you also don't know what are everyone's conditions. Someone might have just easier start thanks to resources. Someone might have harder start because of, I don't know, another job or different conditions. So again, you never see the whole picture. And if you think that you do, believe me, it's social media, it's internet, and sometimes I'm pretty sure that we'll be surprised what is going on or happening behind the scenes, and what actually is the full reality. Here is one thing that genuinely surprised me. Almost nobody talks about followers. Almost nobody talks about numbers. When guests mention other people, they usually remember someone who helped them, someone who believed in them, someone who opened the door, or someone who was generous. And it reminds me that relationships often matter far longer than achievements. Yes, sometimes we discuss numbers on Produced By, but mostly I'm the one who brings up the numbers. Why do I do that? Well, firstly, to show the credibility, because not everyone from the audience knows the guest. The guest might be a big name or the smaller name. But still, believe me, even when they are bigger names, it doesn't mean that they are known. So for the context, it's helpful for me to bring up followers just to show the picture. Secondly, to actually show how long it takes to achieve it. Just an example, you see someone with, just an example, 50k followers and think that they get it overnight. Oh yeah, I know, not overnight, but you know what I mean, quickly. But then it's helpful to know that it's actually taken years. And secondly, even though we don't focus on numbers or try not to focus, it's actually nice as some kind of recognition for all the time showing up. Coming back to the people that they usually remember, whether it's someone who helped them, believed them, opened a door, or was generous, it's really nice to hear this because I think it reassures you that, for example, what you are doing, whether it's LinkedIn, other platforms, or even outside, and you may not be aware of it, there might be people, and I hope there are, who genuinely enjoy the work, find it helpful, valuable, and you are making positive impact. And I can safely say that I heard quite a few names on my show. Yes, there are some names that have been repeated, but it's really nice to hear this, that they make positive impact on others. Inspire them, motivate them, and help them to keep showing up. This might be my favorite observation. The people that I admire most don't pretend to know everything. They ask questions. They are interested. They continue learning. Because the more experienced someone becomes, the less they seem to need to prove they're the smartest person in the room. That has really changed how I think. This might sound obvious, but believe me that these times when it feels like that a lot of people try to flex online, LinkedIn, Instagram, other platforms, with numbers, whether it's impressions, likes, clients, leads. Just open LinkedIn and you'll see that by yourself, or Instagram with over polished everything. It's actually nice when there are people who, I don't want to say care about it, but don't dwell on it that much. I know one thing is to say something, and the other thing is actually how you feel behind the scenes, which I think it's kind of natural that we want to do our best. But I think it's different when you lie, that I believe that the guests don't lie. But when you mean it, and then you get this natural feeling, which honestly, I feel the same. I try not to, or I hope that I do not, but then naturally, sometimes I catch myself comparing to others. But I think it's natural. When I know it, when I'm aware of it, it's a good reminder not to do it, or see it rather as inspiration or motivation, not as a comparison. But coming to what I said before, I heard it quite a few times from the guests that they are still curious. Learning never stops despite how far you are. I know it might sound easy, but believe me that I also know some people who get this mindset that after school or after university you're done with learning. So it's really important to have these people around you. Moving on, almost every guest has a story. It's my favorite one, and especially again relevant to LinkedIn, where it's repeated a lot. I think well deserved to repeat this because it is important. And the interesting part usually isn't the success. It's everything that happened before it, whether it's failures, the uncertainty, the invisible years, And the podcasting constantly reminds me that we massively underestimate how long meaningful things take, which connects directly to episode number 4. I know it may sound obvious, everyone says that, but trust me, I can discuss it with my guests pretty much all the time, but still, you get this DM from someone trying to grow faster. I don't know, ask you about some kind of advice, and when you ask them how long they've been showing up, it tells you something. So it's easy. Sometimes I feel like I repeat it too much, but then it still comes down to the same thing, that people want quick success, everything faster. But I know I spoke about it a lot. Again, coming back to the stories, I enjoy it because also everyone has different story. Everyone has something unique. People say that you should use your stories because it's unique to you, something that stands out. Everyone has it, which is true. Even those that think they do not, they may just need someone to help them to find it, to discover it, and I genuinely enjoy talking about this. One of my favorite questions is how people discovered LinkedIn, because it's always different, how they discovered passion or the reason behind what they do, such as discovering their career, their focus, or their area of expertise. And I'm genuinely curious because you never know. Often there is something interesting behind it, and I just enjoy listening to it. So that's one of my favorites. Moving on, when I think about everything that podcasting has given me, it's not business advice. It is perspective. For example, perspective that everyone struggles, that everyone changes, or that everyone defines success differently. Because, as I said before, nobody has everything figured out. And maybe that's exactly why these conversations matter. That's also one of the reasons why I enjoy doing that. As everyone else, I also sometimes feel down, maybe that I'm not progressing, maybe that I'm not doing enough. So it's really helpful to hear from other people that are ahead of me, that I look up to, that inspire me, and hear their perspectives, how they feel, how they think about their goals and ambitions, etc. If you've been listening to Produced By, which I hope that you've been, at the end I try to ask the question about the guests' goals, ambitions, or something to be excited about for the audience. Because it shows you that, as I said, even those people that are successful or way ahead of you, they also have goals. They aim higher, they want more, they want bigger things. Not necessary, obviously, I'm not saying not to make more money, but sometimes, yes, money is part of it, but it's not like a question that they want to get rich or richer. But exciting projects, milestones, maybe even something outside of social media. So another thing that I really enjoy. To slowly wrap this episode up, podcasting has introduced me to some incredible people. But more importantly, it's helped me understand people a little better. Yes, including myself. Because the more conversations that I have, the less interested I become in comparing. And the more interested I become in understanding. So I leave you with one question. What's one conversation that genuinely changed the way you see the world? Thank you for listening.